Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, January 21st, 2021, and we are day 2 into the Joe Biden administration, and there already are discussions of impeachment against this newly elected president. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has announced that she is going to file, or has filed actually as of 5 hours ago, the articles of impeachment against President Biden. And this is something that definitely seems very weird to me. You know, we are talking about a newly elected president, and the impeachment inquiry isn't necessarily something that's going to be 100% assured, even if at all, just because the Republicans are not in the majority. Many people do need to be reminded that even if the articles of impeachment are filed against Joe Biden, it means relatively nothing if there's no political party on the side of the there's no political power, on the side of the party that would want to see an impeachment against a new president. And this is something that has never happened in American history, where we have seen a representative file articles of impeachment immediately. This is something that is very new, but surprisingly not unexpected as a result of a lot of the rhetoric that was spread across the entire country following the 2020 election, that Donald Trump had, claimed that he won the election, that this election was stolen from him. And as a result, we actually see Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know if I should just call her Representative Greene at this point. She's from Georgia. She comes from a very conservative district, so she's not exactly making her constituents angry with what she is doing, but essentially she's trying to tie in Joe Biden's son and Ukraine, a number of scandals that really surmounted to absolutely nothing when it went into discussion by the Senate. We can actually see here, it's outlined in the Hill article, an investigation by Senate Republicans, keep that in mind, last year into corruption allegations against the Bidens found no evidence of wrongdoing by the current president. So pretty much they said, he did nothing wrong. But we know that the Senate isn't always going to be super fair a lot of the times in their investigations. They also cleared Kelley Loeffler and David Perdue of all wrongdoing in terms of insider trading, and it seemed very clear that they were actually doing it. But also, I do want to point out that this was done by Senate Republicans, so they would have had every incentive 100% to find some type of wrongdoing by Joe Biden, the same way that Republicans in the Senate, in the House, spent tens of millions of dollars investigating into Hillary Clinton's Benghazi scandal, Hillary Clinton's email scandal, and found absolutely nothing. Republican-led committees still finding nothing really tells you that, it isn't just partisan tactics. This is just something that can't be found, but still, Representative Greene wants to push this narrative and wants to bring in an impeachment inquiry, the one that we saw against Donald Trump twice. He was impeached in 2019, then again in 2021, and this came as a result of Donald Trump's words, of his actions. The first time in 2019, he was impeached for two things: abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. That's a term that hasn't necessarily been used too often. The second impeachment, I believe, was incitement of insurrection. Yes, incitement of insurrection. That was what the second impeachment was about. But the first and second impeachments were things that had passed through the United States House of Representatives solely because the Democrats had the majority. There weren't enough Republicans, had they been in the majority by 2016 numbers, for impeachment to occur. If we're talking about the 2016 election, you're taking that House map, you're applying it to today, neither impeachment would have actually happened because there wasn't enough Republican crossover. In the first impeachment, 0 Republicans voted in the House to impeach President Trump. 10 Republicans in the House voted to impeach Donald Trump a second time. But now, because Joe Biden won the election, people are trying to get pretty much even. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is someone who has definitely been very open about accepting conspiracy theories. She endorsed candidates back in 2018 that denied 9/11 being, or accused 9/11 of being an inside job by President Bush, and things that were not necessarily good to say in any context. I mean, not necessarily, just not at all good to say in any context. There is no reason as to why an incumbent representative should have that type of history whatsoever. On top of that, she's definitely someone who has been encouraging the QAnon supporters, people who believe that there's an insider in the government who's pretty much exposing everything that has been working against Donald Trump from day one, all of it completely disproven, completely not factual. But for whatever reason, Representative Greene has definitely been someone who's been encouraging this. And, her supporters, some of them, encourage this as well. And because they see the representative adding on to it, they do agree with it. And they continue to feed into this conspiracy theory that's baseless to the fullest extent. And now she's trying to impeach a newly elected president. You see, the thing is, This is stupid. I rarely use that word. You probably can't find a bunch of videos where I use the word stupid, but this is just plainly put, this is not a partisan thing. I mean, obviously it is, but this is not a partisan thing to say. This impeachment, sorry, I need to clear my throat. I'm going to be probably ranting about this for a little bit. This impeachment inquiry is completely baseless. It's based off things that Senate Republicans could not find. On top of that, it's just here, and we all know it because Donald Trump was impeached again. You know, had he been impeached for the first time, there probably wouldn't be any representative, including her, who would be too bold enough to actually try to impeach Joe Biden. But we are day 2 into the presidency. Day 2. And they're already discussing impeachment. This negatively reflects on the GOP. I do not know what is happening within that party leadership, what's happening within those party ranks. Because sure, they gained seats in 2018 in the House of Representatives. Gained seats in 2020 in the House of Representatives. They gained 14 seats, a net gain of 11. So, one may think, when Donald Trump's on the ballot, Republicans do perform better, and that's true. But now that he's gone, people do have to realize that when he's not on the ballot, Republicans don't exactly perform as well as they'd like. And while 2022 may end up being a good year for the Republican Party, they could win back the House of Representatives. I also want to point out that still, even then, I don't think House Republicans would be too inclined to impeach Joe Biden. But for whatever reason, this representative from the northwestern part of Georgia wants to impeach him on the grounds of, I guess, Ukrainian trade deals, foreign influence on foreign policy. We can actually see what exactly she wants to impeach Joe Biden on, the president of the United States. The first article alleges that Joe Biden abused power of the office of the vice president. So they're going all the way back to Obama 2009 to 2017, either directly engaging or allowing for bribery and other crimes. This allegedly was done by allowing his son Hunter Biden to influence the aid foreign nations, I don't know what that says, policies in the process accept financial and other benefits from foreign nationals. The second article alleges that Joe Biden and his family involvement in the scandal was clear and compelling. Third alleges Joe Biden was overseeing anti-corruption efforts in Ukraine during his vice presidency, then any illegal activity by his son involving Ukraine would be a violation of his job as president. There is clear evidence of a cover-up. And the rest go on about Joe Biden's son and Joe Biden's family and Ukraine. But still, Senate Republicans have found nothing. Donald Trump used this to attack Joe Biden. It did not work. And yet, for whatever reason, Republicans, Kevin McCarthy, is allowing this representative to arguably make a fool of herself. Because I would understand if Joe Biden did something that was impeachable. That, yes, of course, you can bring up the articles of impeachment. It doesn't normally happen. Only 3 presidents have been impeached. Only 1 president has been impeached twice. We all know who that is. And I think that Representative Green is really trying to attack Joe Biden in any way that she can. But this poorly reflects on the Republican Party because with their newfound power, there is a lot of responsibility being the minority party in the House of Representatives with such a narrow majority. There is a lot of responsibility within the United States Senate being such a narrow majority, 50-50. Everyone has to vote party line. And then some. But in the House, if Representative Green, if she is used the same way that AOC or Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib, the same way that the squad is used, Ayanna Pressley, right? These representatives are used in attack ads against Democrats around the country. This might actually be, for better or for worse, for the Republican Party, the Republican Party's AOC. And not to say that AOC is by any means as, I would say, as maybe radical is the right term. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is someone who is going to be used in attack ads. That's the way that I mean it. I'm not even remotely trying to equate AOC with this representative from Georgia. I think that this is something that is entirely out of control right after a failed insurrection at the Capitol, and we have a representative trying to impeach a newly elected president. This is not what happened to Donald Trump 3 years after he was elected. This is not comparable. When Donald Trump was impeached, it was 5 years after he was elected, 4 years after he was elected the second time, right? Donald Trump was impeached roughly a year and 10 months, 11 months after he was elected, 2 years and 11 months after he was first elected. We're talking about day 2. And I think the Democrats are going to turn this representative into a very easy way to attack House Republicans, Senate Republicans, and presidential candidates whenever they try to support her, whenever they endorse her for re-election. Because while she may be safe in her House seat, she may be safe in Georgia's 14th district because she won with 75% of the vote. You know, she was running practically unopposed, but in 2018, it was won by a Republican, even in a Democratic wave year, with 77% of the vote. So still roughly a very similar margin here in the 14th district in Georgia. I think that it's just really important to note that while she may be safe, the rest of the Republican Party is going to pay the consequence. Because now that impeachment is even being floated on day 2 of Joe Biden's administration is something that is really going to negatively affect them. I understand Democrats had argued in 2017, immediately after Donald Trump was brought into office, that some people should discuss impeachment. But we never saw the articles of impeachment actually being introduced on such a national level, going on Fox News, One American News Network, Newsmax, announcing this, going on Twitter, going on Facebook, going on Instagram, announcing that the articles of impeachment will be brought up against Joe Biden for something that was done as he was vice president, supposedly done. That Republicans who investigated it found no evidence of wrongdoing, found nothing with Hunter Biden. Nothing. And she's still using this, even though Republicans have told her this is baseless. Republicans have told her we have found nothing. But Kevin McCarthy and other House Republicans, they are allowing this to occur. And this is going to be ammunition for the Democratic Party entering into the 2022 midterms. Think about it. Think about how easily an attack ad could work against the GOP. Think about those moderate Democrats, those independents who voted for Joe Biden, voted for Democrats down ballot, but want to check on President Biden in 2022. Well, if you see an attack ad where you are seeing, that monotone voiceover talking about how when Republicans have control, they move to impeach the president on day 2 of his administration. They're aiming to block everything that you voted for in 2020. That would be a very effective attack ad. I really think that this is something that is really going to hurt the GOP because it's only reiterating that they don't need Donald Trump to be a Donald Trump political party. They have the representatives, they have the senators who completely align with Donald Trump policy-wise and are going to try to replicate what he did. They are going to try to transform the GOP into the Trump party, not the Republican Party. And that's exactly what's happening here. This impeachment inquiry means nothing. It's more so symbolic for the Trump Republicans around the country that still do not believe that Joe Biden legitimately won the election. This is the appeasement of the 2 impeachments against Donald Trump. Until Joe Biden, or if Joe Biden ever does something that's an impeachable offense, that's when you can actually start seeing the impeachment being brought up, and then you have to question whether or not it's fair. But this is something that isn't going to work for a multitude of reasons. The Democrats are in control of the House, for number 1. Number 2, no real swing district Republican would ever agree to this straight off the bat. Democrats paid the price for it in 2020 when they supported impeachment. Some of those Democrats from conservative districts or Trump districts paid the price for it, and they knew exactly what they were doing, which is why swing district Republicans will not jump onto this. There are a number of them now following the 2020 election. And I think that she is just making a very poor name for her wing in the Republican Party, the Trump wing, the America First wing, by filing these articles of impeachment. And I cannot believe I'm even making a video about articles of impeachment against a president who was inaugurated, less than 48 hours ago, less than 36 hours ago at that, inaugurated yesterday at 11? Impeachment? Already? Come on. I mean, obviously, every single political party is always going to try to mention that. It's always something that's always there just because America is very divided. You're bound to find someone who's a surrogate on a news channel saying, maybe we should impeach the president, but never. You will find a representative to introduce the articles of impeachment on day 2 against a newly elected president with absolutely no evidence whatsoever. No evidence whatsoever against Republicans practically clearing Joe Biden's name, clearing Hunter Biden's name, clearing the Biden family. And yet it's still something that is being discussed. And, I understand that I'm adding to the discussion, but I think it's very important that no matter what side on the aisle that you are, you look at this and you say, this is ludicrous. This is not right. This simply should not be happening on day 2. I mentioned this multiple times in the video. It makes sense if there actually was an impeachable offense. But you're telling me 36 hours into his presidency, you've already found something? Really? She announced before that before he was inaugurated, that she was going to do this. But I thought that Republicans, after she announced that, would tell her, don't do this, because this will hurt House GOP members. This will hurt Senate GOP members. Either she didn't listen, or they simply did not care, because they know that she's catering to a base that almost won them the election in 2020. However, they still lost. And if you're only catering to that base, as Kelley Loeffler and David Perdue can tell you, and she's from Georgia coincidentally, you might actually be someone who, sure, you're appealing to a base that if Democratic turnout is low, nothing will happen. But if they try to replicate Donald Trump on another national level, they try to bring in a candidate similar to Trump, they try to embody him in their campaign tactics, they're going to face the same opposition they did when Donald Trump was on the top of the ballot. The same way they did in 2018. When they became the party of Trump in 2018, they lost the House. They weren't able to pick up a number of Senate seats. They lost a Senate seat in West Virginia. Think about that. And now that we have this happening, without being in the majority, I find no reason as to why this should ever really be in discussion. But I guess Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is someone who definitely doesn't care about that. She's making a name for herself, but she's also negatively impacting the GOP in ways that she can't even imagine. Her name is going to be used the same way AOC's name is used in attack ads for the next few years, through 2024. I can guarantee it. You'll be watching one of my videos, and you will see her brought up. Radical right-winger. Radical whatever they try to use. Because she is going to be used the same way that we've seen Republicans use Democratic congressmen and congresswomen across the country, even if it's in, we're talking about a representative from Georgia. You can imagine her attack ad in Virginia, with Abigail Spanberger or any other type of competitive Democrat that's going to be running in a district. They are probably going to use her as an example, possibly representatives around the country who have been encouraging this behavior. And this is something that I really think is going to negatively affect the GOP. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my post-2020 election video. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.